Hi, Helen. How are you? This is Vishen Lakhiani.
Absolutely fabulous.
How was your Christmas?
Well, it was just another day. I had the family here, but I am so intrigued with all of the emails that I'm getting from people all over the world. It just is very, very exciting that so many people are interested in their spiritual growth, and you're giving them the opportunity to learn a little bit more about themselves. So wouldn't that be a perfect day?
Perfect. You were telling me you were getting around 50 emails a day right now,
Yes, yes, uh-huh.
and
Uh,
that's pretty astonishing because we did not give out your email address anywhere on the website because I knew the swarm of responses you'd get. We had so far 13,000 people listen to the interview that we did together. That somehow people are so excited about what they heard you speak about that they are Googling online and they are somehow digging up your personal contact information, which is in a way creepy, but in a way also kind of exciting. It shows how much people adore you and like your message.
well, I'm just another person, and I'm just absolutely sincere about telling people what their potential is. There's so many, many out there that really are not using their talents, their mind. I mean, it's mind-boggling to me. I'm happy to help any way that I can.
Perfect. Well, what we're going to do in this particular teleseminar, Helen, is last night I sent an email to everyone who signed up. I sent an email only to the first 1,000 people who signed up to purchase the new DVD and book set that you're going to be releasing in January. And I asked them for their biggest questions for Helen Hadsell. I have had a ton of emails come in, and what we did was we've been going through all the emails, and of course, not everybody is going to have their question asked, but what we are looking for are specific trends, questions, or themes that pop up multiple times. We have compiled these trends, and what we want to do for the next 1 to 2 hours, we're probably going to have to split this into two separate teleseminars, so there's a ton of questions, but what we're going to do is ask you the biggest, most common questions that people are having since watching you in the DVD and reading your book. So are you all set to get going?
We'll do the best we can.
Okay, so this is going to be a free flow. There's not going to be any specific direction. I'm simply going to go with the most common question. So let's start with what is perhaps the most frequently requested piece of information from you, and that's basically this. So far I've seen this question just come in from Judy, from Bob, from Paulina. I'm not going to give people's last names to protect your privacy, but here's the question. The question is, we love the spec system. What we'd like to know is, how long do I have to stay focused on a particular goal in order to see the outcome, in order to see it manifest itself? How many times a day? How many affirmations? How long? Weeks, months? How long do I have to stay focused on the outcome that I desire?
It varies. When you're really and truly wanting something, how important is it to you? You should be thinking about it. You can write it down. It comes to mind, or you can deliberately sit and focus on it. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, your thoughts on that thing, you're sending energy to it. This is very, very important. So how long will it take? It depends. It depends how much energy it needs. Don't ever, ever admit failure. There can be a delay in results, kids. But everything that I have ever set out to do, I can truthfully say it has manifested.
Yes, I think that does answer the question, Helen. I do have a follow-up question. This comes from Angie, and it relates to the first question. Now, Angie's issue is, how do you stay focused on your intentions? How do I stay positive and not let negative ideas or influences come in to distract me? You see, I start off with an intention, and then I get distracted, and then I realize a week or two later that I'm no longer working on this intention, and I have to start all over again, and it's really frustrating, and I end up quitting. So how do you stay focused and positive?
Well, of course, I've done this for such a long period. It's just easy for me to do it. But as a beginner, if you have this frustration, etc., why don't you just write it down? Why don't you just keep it on a piece of paper or in a book, something that you can look at all the time? In the car, you're in the car most of the time. Just pin it to the dashboard. Pin it on the refrigerator. In the bathroom, on the mirror. There are so many, many ways. Then your mind will get back on it. I can truthfully say that we are influenced with people around us, what they are thinking. And it is a distraction. But then, come on, use these little tools here until you become confident and are able to automatically. Remember, kids, you can only think of one thing at a time. And if other things are coming in and you need that to focus on, and then do these little things by writing it, putting it on the mirror and on the dashboard as I suggested. Then it'll come to you. You'll be giving it energy. And believe me, it works.
So then it's about, so then what you're saying, Helen, is it may take a while to come. It really depends on how much energy the outcome requires. And it's really a question of simply staying focused and to keep pouring energy into this thought, this desire.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
Now, specifically in your case, what have you found to be specific tools or methods or systems that have worked for you, that have allowed you to stay focused, no matter how long it took, that have allowed you to stay focused on the outcome you were seeking?
I think if there'd be one answer to that, it would be how really, really much do you desire something? When you desire something, and then you're going to make it work, because you're thinking about it, and as I said earlier, the power of positive thinking. When Vincent Peale, when I read that book, and I was so impressed. And I'm the kind of a person that's got to prove things to myself. And that's when I started. It was a flippant way, like my husband wants a motor. A motor for his boat. Okay, how often did I think about that? All the time. I wanted him to have that boat motor. And yes, I gave it thought. And it was humorous because I kept saying, I wonder how long it's going to take him to let us know we won. And it took, I think, 2 or 3 weeks until the contest was over with. And then when they called him, I just assumed, okay, now what else do we want? It was flippant. It was a desire that was important to me, because maybe I wanted to prove that Vincent Peale had something going. And evidently he did, by suggesting this and then taking a hold of it. I call it hook, line, and sinker. And that's what you do. And you take a hold of it and you think about it constantly until it manifests. So that's what I did. Oh yes, I had to do other things, mundane things, but that was the focus that kept me going. Just he needs that outboard motor. I've seen the outboard motor, and that was it. Because initially when it started, I sat in my chair and pretended like I was my husband, and I wrote the words that at that time we had to write 25 words or less. And so I wrote why he wanted it, and, he's a lone wolf fisherman and so forth. And from that point on, I I didn't even doubt kids. I didn't even doubt. I didn't discuss it with anybody except my husband, and we'd laugh about it. And I say, wonder how long it's going to take him. So I don't know. Every case worked different. And so there's not one answer.
And I love that line you just used, hook, line, and thinker. Helen, have you noticed that, because I've heard other mind philosophers such as Jose Silva say this, but the first time you try to manifest something, it may take a while. But every time you have a success, it helps build up your belief system, and the next thing you try to manifest comes to you quicker and quicker and quicker and quicker. And pretty soon you find that you can manifest things extremely rapidly, no longer in weeks or months, but in a matter of days or even hours. Have you found that to be true in your experience?
Definitely. And then I was called lucky, and then I was called a witch, and that's when I coined the word not witchcraft, but wish, W-I-S-H, witchcraft. I'm good at that.
What was the fastest thing you ever manifested?
I think the night that we went to the dance, it was right around Christmas time, and I was just told I won the house. And my husband and I went to the dance, and we walked in there, and this big boom box on the table, and Christmas cake and stuff as the door prizes at the end of the night. And when I registered to put my name in this fish bowl, I said, I want that boom box for my daughter for Christmas. And she laughed, and as people came in, she said, the Hadsells are here, and Mrs. Hadsell already won the boom box. And so what was so interesting is, all night long we were dancing, and people would stop and say, oh, she's lucky she won a house, etc., and now she already has the boom box, or why should I register? She's already won. And what they were doing, they were giving me energy. And they were not even aware of it. And so at the end of the night, when they drew the name, and my husband's boss said, I want nothing to do with this. And he handed the bowl over to somebody else, and this woman comes up, and she says, well, they're not going to get it. It was sort of like a joke. And she reaches in and hands the name, and the man read the name, and it was the Hadsell. I mean, I won that boombox.
That's hilarious. So when you walked in, you had not actually won the boombox. You simply declared that you were going to win. And other people, because they knew you had just won the house, they thought you were some kind of witch, you had some sort of lucky spell. They too assumed you were going to win the boombox. This added more energy to you winning, and your name ended up being drawn. That is a beautiful story. So I have a question here from Kathy. What you just talked about, Helen, was an example where people expect you to win. Now, Kathy's question is about the opposite. She says, do you have any method of disconnecting the negative emotion that others close to you create from time to time? Sometimes people, your kids or your spouse, you off course because they expect you to fail. How do you prevent other people's negativity from getting you off course?
We should really and truly give that some thought, because the minute that you declare that you're going to win something, there's always somebody that's going to say, what makes you think you can win it, or ha ha ha, you never won it, or look at the competition you had. Well, that is negative there, and it really and truly makes you have to work harder, longer and stronger to ward off that negative feeling. This is the reason I never told anybody what I was working toward. Now, granted, the night that I was at the dance, this was sort of a funny thing, and usually I don't tell people what I'm working toward. I don't give them an opportunity to be negative. And if you're working, and all of a sudden this negative thing comes and says, what makes me think I'm going to win it? You better believe somebody else is projecting that energy towards you. And when that comes to your mind, you can only think of one thing at a time. You just say, cancel, cancel, or deliberately say, but I am a winner. I know I'm going to win. And then go ahead and boost yourself up again. Don't waste that energy. You've got the energy. You work with energy at all times.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying is really keep it to yourself.
Yes, until you have enough confidence. I'm flippant now. And I just say, okay, want this or whatever. And my son here, who is so good at picking up, every time it's hilarious, absolutely hilarious. This morning he came in to bring in the mail, and this morning I'm thinking of cherries. Oh, I'd love to have some cherries, and I know they're out of season. And can you believe the kid came in and plonked a bag of cherries on in the kitchen cabinet? And he said, I was grocery shopping this morning, and I kind of figured you'd like some of these cherries. So was that his or idea or mine? It was my idea, and he picked it up. When you're in close proximity with people, it can be it can be an ongoing thing. And it seems to be that way with my son. So we have fun and games here all the time.
Mm-hmm. I see what you mean. Now in the case of the first question I asked you, the person, her solution would be to simply keep her goals, her intentions private. But what if even if you were private about what you were trying to manifest, there was someone in your life who was a negative influence? Now this question comes from Kathy. She says, is it possible to turn a relationship that's going nowhere around? I'm 52. I've been seeing a man for nearly 3 years. He's a workaholic. He's stubborn. And this relationship is going nowhere, and he refuses to pay attention to me. I've threatened that I'm going to start dating other people. He says he's going to turn his life around. It doesn't happen. I'm confused. Can I choose to influence his behavior to turn this relationship around with my own mind?
You have the principles there. How important is it to you? Do you really want it, or have you outgrown this person? You never can change anybody. Don't even try. You can project, and they can accept it or reject it. And no, you're never able to influence anybody. I wouldn't even attempt that. On material things, yeah, it's okay. But to talk to a person and convince them on something that's ongoing, is it worth it? How much is it worth it? How much do you really and truly want it? Or have you outgrown it? He has his own personality, and so do you. And even if you are married, there's going to be things that are going to be coming up constantly. You're not compatible in all areas. Those are just storybooks. Real life, let's face it, life happens one darn thing right after another. And how you pursue it or how you look at it, that's entirely up to you.
And Kathy goes on to write, this is the second part of the question. She wrote a fairly long email. I'm confused as to what I should be selecting. Should I be selecting that our relationship has turned around and that we are both sharing many wonderful and awesome moments together and that our relationship has moved to a higher ground? Or should I be selecting that I'm attracting someone else who can give me what I want? My greatest wish is for this relationship that I've had for the last 3 years to grow and blossom. But what do I do? So in this scenario, Helen, what would you advise to Kathy be? And by the way, this is a different Kathy. This is Kathy with a K.
Well, when someone comes up and in my counseling capacity and asks what I want this particular man, and what can I do to get him, etc., and so forth, there is a set what I would say petition to this. I would recommend you say, I would like the perfect man with like interests to gravitate to me. And that's all I would say. If you're going to be specific, He's got to have long hair and drive a Cadillac or whatever. This will manifest down the road how important it is to you. I would be comfortable getting the perfect mate with like interests. And of course, that's just me, because I happen to have the perfect mate for 60 years. And yes, we worked at it. Sure, there's always little areas that need to be addressed. But it's been a fun life. So what you're wanting is the perfect mate with like interests. Now, if it's the guy that you're currently seeing, or there might be somebody else out there that will fill your needs, you have to ask, what is it that you want? You want this guy, or do you want the perfect guy with like interests? I can't give you an answer on that one.
I think you just gave a perfect answer. Now, in Kathy's situation, are you trying to say that if she used the style of positive statement that you just said, I want the perfect man with like interest, does this mean that either she would manifest a new person, or that her current boyfriend would change in terms of his behavior towards her?
That's what makes life so exciting. If he is the perfect mate with like interests, and then she already has that, or it might be another person, but this is what she wants now, and how important is it to her? If it's that important, then I would continually project for it.
Perfect. And this brings us to our next question. It's on life purpose versus what you want. This question comes from Francisco. And what Francisco says is, he's having a little bit of difficulty understanding how spec relates to this particular philosophy. The philosophy is this. Philosophy is the idea that if you set a goal and that goal is not aligned with your higher self, no matter what you do, no matter how powerfully you use the spec formula, it will not happen, because you're not meant to get it. Because at a deeper soul level, there's something else that you're meant to do. For example, if a person wants to be a professional football player and he's really meant to be a spiritual teacher, then his higher self will not allow his dreams of being a football player to manifest. So Francisco wants to know, what are your views on this philosophy? Do you agree with him? Do you agree with the idea that you cannot manifest anything? It has to be something that is in tune with your higher self.
Oh, that's such a good question, and I'm so glad he asked that. This is the reason when I deal with people or talk to people and so forth, I always ask them their birth dates. And when you figure out your birth date, at the end, month, day, year, then you have what I call your mission this lifetime. And I have found that to be so credible, because what is your mission? You say you want to be a football player, or you want to do this or that. But maybe your mission is to be an actor, or maybe to be an artist, or to be a pioneer, to go where no man's gone before. When you find out your mission, you are going to, it's just so exciting. You're going to gravitate toward what you came into this lifetime to do. And it's going to be very satisfying. This doesn't mean that you can't be a football player. You can go ahead and do it. But to really and truly be comfortable and just, I would say, blissful, is when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, when you know what your mission this lifetime is. So that would be my answer. My lifetime is to be an adventurer, okay? And that's what it's been. Some are meant to be a writer. And when you write, there's such a feeling of, I finally found my place in the sun, in the fun, and you take it from there.
So what you're saying, Helen, is you can manifest anything you want. It's just that if you choose something that is aligned with your mission, it tends to be more of a downhill journey rather than an uphill journey.
That's right. That's right.
Got
You
it.
can still manifest it, but your mission is the one that's going to be rewarding, gratifying, and satisfying.
Got it. Okay. And let's go on to
Okay.
the next question. And this is from Richard. Helen, he says, I have read that emotion plays a large part of manifesting. How do you cater your emotions? How do you use them to facilitate the manifesting process? And can you give examples of this?
Emotion, gosh, I always say, I want it so bad I can taste it. That's an emotion. Yes, emotion can be very, very, what I call beneficial. There's an excitement there. There's a feeling of knowing, and there's just a feeling of laughter when you get it. Emotion does. It's more abundant energy is what it is. And so if you can do things emotionally, it manifests more faster.
Right. What you're talking about when you say emotions, I take it, is feelings of joy, happiness, positive expectancy. Is
Yes,
that what you mean?
Yes, And I also, emotion can be hate, fear, envy, jealousy, pain. These are all emotions. And one segment in my book, I want to clarify here. I said when we have a physical discomfort, which is called pain, there's where you're going to get some feedback, kids. When you have this pain and you concentrate on the pain, it comes in surges of almost can knock you out. You're giving pain more energy by concentrating on it. When you change that pain to healing, the same pulsation is there, but it's completely different. It feels like surges, and all of that intense pain is gone. And you've got surges and surges of healing. I recommend this, in childbirth, when you're having tooth challenges because the mouth seems to be so sensitive there, or when you hurt yourself. And immediately rub it and say, healing, 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 healing. And all of that throbbing of hurt energy dissipates because you've changed the energy now into healing. Does that cover that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
Now, Richard goes on to ask, how do you deal with feelings of guilt when you are trying to manifest something big that you think might help you in your life, but due to past programming or whatever, you feel guilty about asking for it? How would you deal with that situation?
Well, you might call it the con job. I say, I would write this down. I would say, in the past, I had the idea that I was not worthy of something. I refuse to live in the past. And when you repeat that, or when you say it over and over again, and then that guilt feeling is dissipated. I've had to do this quite often when I do counseling, and that I even write it down on a piece of paper and give it to that person and say, keep looking at this because you're living in the past and we're in the now, and you are worthy of whatever it is you want to have. Don't live in the past.
I like that, and I like that exercise. Now, this leads to another question. This is, it's actually also by Francisco. Now, he asks some pretty deep questions. Now, here's the second question. He says, Helen, in your course, can you clarify how to deal with past programming that is negative in nature? For instance, you may consciously set an intention to be wealthy, but at the same time you may have a subconscious programming that says money is the root of all evil. Rich people are selfish. Now, if you have this past programming, there's a part of you that will sabotage your desire to attract more wealth. So how do you deal with this past programming? How do you get rid of it? Would it be the same process?
Yes, the same. I mean, that's very, very effective, incidentally. Just write it down. Write it down. In the past, I had this feeling. I refuse to live in the past. And you can but keep in positive words with it. But I'm telling you, it works. It's very, very, very effective.
Yes, and I just want to share one thing over here. A lot of the people who buy the Winning Stage program, especially given the current situation in the U.S., one of the deepest desires they have right now is to be financially secure or even to be wealthy. But what I've noticed about a lot of people, and I used to teach the Silva Method class, so I've noticed a lot of people have a negative attitude towards wealth. They believe rich people are bad. They believe money is the root of all evil. Some of them have really silly beliefs, such as they would feel guilty if they were making more money than their parents. For whatever reason, they feel it's bad to be earning more than their parents or than their neighbors or their community. What I found is that these past programming is one of the biggest reasons people are trapped in poverty or in debt. And being able to eliminate these past programmings can do wonders to free you. So I love the suggestion that you just gave, Helen, because I think it's an important missing step. A lot of people would practice Silva or practice spec or practice any other technique out there, focus on attracting money, but they forget to deal with their past programming. And that feeling of guilt, that feeling of a negative attitude towards the idea of becoming rich holds them back. So I love what you just said. Now we'll move on to the next question, unless you have anything else to add on this subject.
Yes, it's difficult in this time because you're picking up the mass energy, the mass thinking of the majority of people now. And when you're sensitive, you're picking this up. Even on the radio or on the television and so forth, I just block it out. Just simply block it out. And if it takes you reading that over, then do it. I think that should cover it.
Now, this question regards, it's related again to what we've been talking about. It's about getting out of debt. And it comes from Quinn. Now, Quinn's situation is this. If someone is currently in debt, well, his question is, if someone is currently in debt, what would be the best way to use the knowledge in Helen's DVD and book to help them come out of debt? I apologize if this is an odd question. It's just that I'm currently struggling and would like to get out. It feels as though I'm sinking deeper and deeper, and that's one of the main reasons I purchased this program, Mrs. Hadsell.
Wow is all I can say on that one. You're wanting instant gratification. It took you a long time to get into that hole, probably by overspending and so forth. So it's going to take a little while. I mean, it's not an overnight thing. You created it, now you uncreate it. And it may take a little while, and it may be like spoon feeding, but it's possible. It's possible. But in the meantime, you can also, what I could say, visualize yourself being free and out of debt, happy and content. And there's no time period on that. Because, see, you created all this, now you uncreate it. But you want to have a stepping up process, then go see yourself as being sitting there and everything is taken care of and everything is balanced. Because when you're balanced financially, physically, and spiritually, there's such a good feeling. And I'm sure you don't have that now because of all the debt and of all the pressure. But who caused that? You did to start out with. So now undo it. and get back in track to become normal. I mean, to be what I would say balanced. Not what you wanted to hear, kid, but you put yourself there. Now, it'll take a little while to get out of it.
Right. And for everyone who's listening who might be in this situation, it is a tough situation. What typically happens is, because you are in a feeling of debt, a feeling of lack, what happens is, even if when you try to manage more money, the stress, the negativity, your spouse complaining to you about being in that situation of debt, not being able to afford things you want, those negative vibes pull you down, and you're constantly stuck in your current reality. Now, there are steps to get out, but it does take a while. I would like to, Helen, if I may, I would like to recommend some programs, free programs that people might want to look into, that are compatible with SPEC that might help them with this particular situation. So the first is, go to the website, thesgrprogram.com. SGR stands for Science of Getting Rich. It's the title of an old book by Wallace Wattles written in the 1910s. Again, it's thesgrprogram.com. They have a free 7-part course. Sign up for that course. And this course talks about shifting your mental attitude towards acquiring wealth or coming out of debt. I helped co-author the course with my friend Bob Proctor and Jack Canfield. So do check it out, thesgrprogram.com, and once again, it's free. The other thing I do want to recommend for people like Quinn or anyone else who might be stuck in debt is buy the book Secrets of a Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. What Harv talks about is basically how to switch your mindset, how to overcome past negative programming about money, and how to come out of debt. And he'll give you a couple of step-by-step tips, how to gradually move out of it and move into a frame of mind where you are attracting money once again. Okay, but now we'll go on with some additional questions for Helen. Helen, is there anything else you'd like to add in regards to that?
I think you've covered all bases. I mean, it's something that you have to read and accept and then do it. Just don't read it. Do something about it. Write it down. Get excited about it. This is what I'm going to do now. So you've got that energy to get started.
Great. And let's go on to another serious issue that a lot of people brought up, and this is health issues. Now, this question comes from Connie. Connie's question is, how do I use the SPEC system to help me get out of this health situation I'm in right now? Basically, Connie has an issue with constant migraines and headaches, and she's wondering if she can use SPEC to help heal herself.
Definitely. Of course, there's a lot of allergies now. We're not going to say that everything is a miracle. We are in a place here where there's allergies, and you're allergic to this and allergic to that, and there's medication that's necessary. If that's what it takes to get you out of it. And then I say, well, I'm not a doctor, remember. I'm just doing what I feel I myself do. I can share what I do, but that doesn't mean I'm a doctor. When I get a headache, I sit there, and all I do is put my 2 fingers, my thumb and my forefinger, right between my nose, and while I'm sitting there and rocking, I'll just say, it's gone, 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 gone. And that's it. I don't take aspirin. I just don't take medication. But that's me. And as I say, every one of you is different. Every one of you has your ideas of what will heal you. This is my idea. This is my way of healing my headache. It works for me. Now, you take it if you want to, or do whatever you want to with it. So that's my answer.
Wonderful. Thanks for sharing, Helen. Now, with that, we'll wrap up part 1 of this teleSeminar, and we will be having several follow-up teleseminars. And for all of you listening in, thank you for listening. Part 1 will be available as soon as we get this edited and up on the website. And very soon we'll be launching part 2 as well. Thank you.